Hello, everybody. We're here at Price of Reason Live, and we're doing a special stream today. Started a few minutes late. Sorry about that. We have with us Script Doctor from
Hi.
the channel, from the YouTube channel Script Doctor, the Script Doctor, and he has his own Patreon. He's a professional screenwriter, very experienced. He, on his Patreon, guides people when it comes to screenwriting. He also has a new show coming up in January about screenwriting on his YouTube channel. So you should definitely check that out. How's it going, Script?
It's going well. A little hungry, but still excited to discuss some of the best movies of 2023.
That's what we're gonna do, and we're also we should be on both on YouTube and Rumble. I know that Rumble we actually usually have more people actually watching there, even though we can't see their chats. But anybody out there that's watching, thanks for showing up. It was rather last minute. We also have Ro from the Scarif Podcast, or also known as the Scarif Podcast, and he's one of the founding members of the Red 5 Network, co-founder of the Red 5 Network. Ro, what's the right thing to say?
Yeah, co-founder. My original co-host Brad and I, we started up the group in 2000 2019 2020, and yeah, co-founder is fine. Grand Poobah of the Red 5 Network also works.
Okay, cool. So, Ro, he is a veteran in the broadcast news industry. Also has a lot of background in technical equipment when it comes to cameras, cinematography, technical things in cinema. Great to have you here. He has his own podcast where he talks about sci-fi and specifically Star Wars. Hopefully, the good Star Wars. Not hopefully. I mean, usually the good Star Wars. Obviously, not stuff that he doesn't like. And we have Sean Krummel, the artist, who has his own sticker collection, and he has his own YouTube channel, the Real Sean Krummel, where you can see him draw things and talk about pop culture and do retro comic reviews. Has a lot of great stuff going on there. I highly recommend it. You should check it out. And I see we have in the chat Tex Rogers. Thank you for joining us. And in this kind of impromptu stream that we decided to put together, we're going to be discussing which movies we liked in 2023. And I've put together some that I personally liked, but I'd like to go one by one, maybe also hear what you guys liked. So let's start with Script Doctor.
I am totally unprepared, by the way.
Me too. There was a sheer moment of panic where Price was like, let's talk about movies that were good. And I was like, have I seen any movies?
I'm also kind of winging it here, but I feel like there must have been some good movies somewhere. So, Script, if you had to think of a movie or a few movies that you enjoyed this year, what would they be?
Oddly enough, most of them are from Apple Plus. That would be Tetris, which is an Apple Plus film, a movie about getting the handheld rights to Tetris and then making it the game that blew up in the 80s. That's at the top of my list, along with The Family Plan, Mark Wahlberg, action comedy, road trip comedy that came out. Nobody has really been seeing or talking about either of those films because Apple does not care enough to advertise their Apple TV and their Apple Plus series the same way they do their iPhones and software. So
that is weird, isn't it?
It is. Well, I mean, again, their film production is a drop in the bucket compared to their actual annual net income. So
I keep hearing that from various streaming channels. They're like, it's like secondary to them.
Yeah, they're only actually making stuff to sell other Apple products, and which is what Apple has always kind of been. And in this case here, their Apple Plus service is used to get people to buy Apple Plus, and then they advertise their latest Apple products on Apple Plus to sell more Apple products. So it's very good vertical integration. But the thing that it can't knock them is that for a lot of the feature films that they produced since they started have been surprisingly good, well-crafted, fun, heartfelt. They pair up with good other production companies like Skydance. So yeah, those are the two that stood out on Apple for me that I'll start off with before we get into more.
So I guess Tetris is basically it's. I've seen the movie. Ro and Sean, have you seen Tetris?
No. And the only time that I know that something might be good on Apple Plus is if a friend tells me, because like Doctor was saying, I don't see any advertising. I don't see anything. I think the last thing I watched was, and I still have to watch the latest season is For All Mankind. And that's not a movie, it's a series, but I think that's the last thing that I was watching.
Sean, have you seen Tetris?
I have not. We had Apple TV, which I think is like the crux of streaming. We had Apple TV for a limited time. I meant to get to it and I couldn't find the time to, and then it expired, and then now who knows when I'll ever see it. But I always hear people telling me how good it is.
Well, something happened to me that's similar to what Ro was saying. I was with somebody else who actually has an Apple account, because for some reason I'm like you, Sean. I had it for temporarily, and I never renewed it. I didn't find myself watching it that much. Maybe I was busy at the time. It's possible that they do have good things. I don't really watch them. So I was with a friend, and I actually knew of this Tetris story a few years earlier because it's a really interesting story. That's not a spoiler, just the whole maybe you've read it in the past, the whole idea of how it was a Russian game and basically it was released in the US, but getting the rights to it and everything that went around working with basically Russia during those years to even be able to release this game and all the ins and outs of it. It's a really fascinating story. And after I had read about it or even seen documentaries and things about it years earlier, I told people that I knew, I said, I'd love to make a movie about this. This would be so great. And I think around the time that I had thought about it, I had already seen that Apple had optioned it, or I read that in the trades or something that they were doing it. So somebody else was thinking that too. And I have to say that I think that they did a better job than I would have done. Surprisingly, a friend of mine that did have Apple said, "Oh, we should watch this movie." And I was really pleasantly surprised by it. It is a very good movie. I think it's well done. Script, what did you like about it?
I like the fact that it was really, it leaned into what it was. It's a video game about solving essentially an active puzzle. And that is exactly what the character of Taron Egerton was trying to do in negotiating with the Soviet government over this. He was just figuring out, going level by level. It was really well structured and framed. The ending is a little exuberant, but that they just did that to try and give some extra kick to the excitement aspect of it. But it's a really fun interpretation of the events that these guys went through to get this game released. And fun facts: whatever has supplanted the Soviet empire is still part ownership of Tetris itself, but the actual creator and it still gets a lucrative money from the licensing deal. And he lives stateside now with his whole family has moved over to the United States, and they've been there ever since the wall fell, essentially.
Yeah, and I also, even visually, there were a few parts that they kind of there's like a car chase, and suddenly things are a bit pixelated, and it looks like a video. There were some stylistic visual choices that they did in this movie that I was even impressed with. That when it comes to, I guess, even the visuals, more cinematography, how they incorporated these little 8-bit video game things into it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they had fun with the fact that this, like, again, Tetris is still the biggest video game, most successful video game ever made. Most popular video game. Everybody has played it at some point in their lives. They will continue to play it. It's one of the first things that you can find on the App Store when you're looking for games on your smart devices and everything. So yeah, it's they leaned into it. They had fun with some of the stuff, especially when, like, I think they had a scene where one of the cars crashes and they show like the line deleting on the screen from the Tetris thing, as a gag. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I feel like the theme song to Tetris is just as popular as Mario Brothers. Like anyone could hum it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted like dance too. Little Russian dance. There you go. Yeah.
You're like kicking your legs to it.
Yes.
That's the one thing about that theme song is that you immediately think Russian when you hear it. I don't know how they did it, but you just think. So,
Yep.
yeah, I recommend this movie. So because I've seen it, I can recommend it. I agree with Script on it. I guess we're kind of doing this casually. Sean, what movie did you see this year that you did like? Did you see anything you liked?
Panic mode. Panic mode.
I honestly had a panic attack, and
One movie that you liked.
earlier tonight I was watching Heartburn from the 80s with my wife, with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep, and I was like clicking through my iPad trying to find movies that I've actually watched this year. Like I have a top 6, I would say, that actually I watched them and I was like, oh, that was good. Top of those though, I would have to say, do you want just one or do you want like 3? Because they're all kind of the same.
You can give 3, give a few, give anything.
All right, I'll tell you my like top 5, and then you can like run off with any of them. I saw No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, which I don't like Jennifer Lawrence, but I thought she did good in that movie, and I was entertained by it. Haunting in Venice. I like all of those Hercule Poirot movies just because I think it's oh my god, I forgot his name. Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
I think he does sensational in those, and I really like seeing him as that character. I really enjoyed the Mission Impossible movie. We watched all of them up until going to see that new one in the theater, and I thought the new one was a lot of fun, even though you might have to like kind of just go with it. Like you're like, oh, there's a super intelligent AI, and it's like, you know what, just accept it and enjoy the ride. And then Mario. I saw Mario and I was entertained, even though I have a couple of issues with it, but it was still fun.
As for the movie that you said, the one with No Hard Feelings,
No hard feelings.
I actually watched that movie, and there were parts of it that I didn't mind. I thought that the first maybe act or two, for whatever genre it's supposed to be, I thought it was working. And I like you, I don't always like Jennifer Lawrence, but I thought that she was fine in it. The only thing for me is, and I think maybe even Script, we were talking about this somewhere else, I think, but the final third of that movie, I feel like the movie tried to shift away from romantic comedy or to have sort of a message at the end, and something about it didn't rub me the right way. See, for me, romantic comedies aren't my preferred thing, but there's a certain thing about romantic comedies that it's a formula and it works. There's all this stuff happening, guy meets girl or whatever it is. Then over the course of the second act, there's maybe a lot of problems. And then in the third act, people learn, grow, whatever it is that happens. And somehow at the end, there's a big finale where they get together. Now, yes, you could subvert expectations and make it so that Jennifer Lawrence, sorry, spoilers, but I'm not really ruining anything. Anybody that's watching this, you'll be okay. It sort of ends on a more open note. It doesn't end, in the way. It doesn't end in a decisive ending the way we're used to seeing in some of these other movies. And I feel that it's not better for it. It's not an artsy enough movie to pull that off. So basically, you took something that was formulaic, that was possibly giving the audience what it wants, sort of in a genre that's very niche specific. And at the end, you tried to do like a Rian Johnson. And I don't like that, personally.
I get that because we saw La La Land back in the day in the theater. And that one is like, it goes back and forth between trying to be something new and classic Hollywood with the musical and the love story. And then at the end, spoiler, I'm sorry if you didn't see it like 3 years ago, but like La La Land does not end how you really want it to. Like, at least me personally, I wanted it to have the big, stupid Hollywood ending with them falling in love and everything.
At least that movie, you could say it has some kind of merit as a more artistic movie. I personally thought it was like a pompous fart, which was disappointing because I liked Whiplash. So seeing Damien Chazelle make La La Land and everybody was kissing his ass, Whiplash is the good movie. La La Land is just there was something about it that didn't didn't rub me the right way.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
Script,
I liked the music initially, and then I hated the ending.
I was wondering, Script, if you saw that. I thought you said that you saw the No Hard Feelings one.
I did. I thought it was a pretty hollow attempt at a romantic comedy. Didn't go where it should have. I think a lot of people are hung up over the fight scene on the beach that Jennifer Lawrence did, which I don't want to see that much of Jennifer Lawrence ever. I saw way more than enough in that Red Sparrow film that she did. I'm like, listen, she's a good actress, but she's not someone I want to see all in the birthday suit there. So
I largely don't like her, and Red Letter Media back in the day said that she looks like a child playing dress up, and I've never been able to unsee that. So
I have the same thing with Florence Pugh. She reminds me physically of like a very tall 8-year-old girl, and that's why I never want to see her, do those provocative stuff because it's just creepy.
Yeah.
Don't watch Oppenheimer.
I have. In fact, my girlfriend and all of her lady friends were just mocking her relentlessly in the most vicious way I've ever seen women talk, body shame a woman.
God.
And the fact that Florence Pugh's dating of Zach Braff should tell you everything you need to know about her and Zach Braff, who is notorious for going after very weak personality people, women.
Didn't they break up though?
Probably did recently, especially when she's getting more famous than him.
Well, it says something about my low standard for Jennifer Lawrence, where I'm like, oh, she did not make me want to vomit the whole movie. Like, she had a personality. At least in my low estimation. So good job. It was an okay movie for whatever it was.
And Ro, did you see No Hard Feelings?
I did not. No.
It's okay. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
But yeah, for me, the ending killed it. I would have just said it was a decent romantic comedy, and I also didn't like the thing where she's naked beating people up. That was kind of weird.
I thought, like any other actress in any other decade, that would have been like hilarious, the talk of the town, like such a great scene. But like, it's Jennifer Lawrence, so it's like, oh wow, she's so stunning and brave. But
yeah, something doesn't translate there. I agree with you. So the next another movie, I don't know. Let's try to think what people may have seen. I feel like I'm going to be the only one that saw this. How do I stop? And then I'm going to share a different one. So, did anybody see this movie?
Yeah,
I liked it.
Ro, did you see it?
I didn't get a chance to see it. I saw the last one. I enjoy these movies immensely, but I didn't get a chance to see this one in the theater. And then what's his name bugs the hell out of me. I don't know why. Whatever movie he's in, I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Tom Cruise?
No, Scotty from the Star Trek.
Oh, Simon Pegg.
Yes, Simon Pegg. He bugs the crap out of me.
That's such a weird pet peeve to have, like Simon Pegg. I've never heard anybody think one way or another about him. People either like him or think he's just okay. You're probably the first person that having him in a movie is like, is a reason not to see the movie.
I have a list of actors who, and I forgot, one of my friends used a German word to describe my list. It's actors that if I saw them, I just want to punch them in the face. Not for any particular reason, but he's one of them. And then what's the other? He was on Saturday Night Live. He always plays like a goofy
Will Forte.
Will Ferrell?
No. Damn, what's his name? I blocked his name. That I don't like him so much. That's why. But he played a jewelry mogul in this.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Can't stand him either.
Wow, you couldn't even remember that it's Adam Sandler? I mean, he's kind of known.
I just blocked him.
Blocked out.
Yeah. But yeah, I have not seen it, and like I said, I enjoy these Mission Impossible movies. Tom Cruise has something going, obviously, since his first one, and his craziness, his stunt work, et cetera, et cetera. So I saw I saw his last movie in the theater, the Top Gun movie, which was phenomenal, and
Loved it.
I just didn't get to see this one.
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, and it may not have done what it needed to at the box office, but I thought it was a good movie. I went in, I enjoyed what I saw, and I left. That felt like a rare feeling this year. So, Sean, you did see it.
I loved it. I feel like there's an extra bit of pressure with script here because he could point out all the flaws, but I mostly enjoyed it. I accepted the super intelligent AI for helping the villain out, and I just had a fun time. My only complaint is they kill off one of the characters, and I'm like, oh, well, they should have been around for like the rest of the series.
Script, did you see Mission Impossible?
Yeah,
Dead Reckoning?
I thought it was pretty decent. I don't think it needed to have been separated into two parts. For some reason, I felt like they could have probably told this whole story far more effectively in the runtime they had. Breaking it up into two parts felt like it was just dragging out what they wanted to do. I liked that they brought Kittredge back. It was nice to see him again. Sadly, he didn't play a big enough part in this as he should have. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought, the AI stuff was cool, but the human avatar working, I guess, with it did not feel threatening or intimidating to me. I'm like, I don't know anything about this character. I don't see any stakes for him. But the framework, yeah, I thought that yeah, this is not bad.
It's not perfect, but again, it's just like with a rom-com. It's a certain type of movie. I don't walk into Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning thinking that I'm going to watch The Godfather. So I know what type of movie it is, and for whatever it was supposed to be, I was entertained by it. And I also liked Haley Atwell, which surprised me because I never really liked her much. And I actually thought in this movie, this was the first movie that I thought to myself, I kind of like Haley Atwell. She managed to convert me from not really liking her very much to liking her.
I have to ask, is that in like the she's not hot aspect, or she's not playing characters that I give a crap about?
I think I never thought that she looked bad, but I think that as Peggy Carter, I never really subscribed to that character. I was never really. Is it Peggy Carter? Is that what she's called?
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I never really was excited about that. I don't know why. She just didn't. She was just okay. There was nothing she did that I was really wowed by. I didn't hate her. You know what I mean? She was just all right, but I wasn't excited about her.
She's not like your Adam Sandler then?
No, she's not Adam Sandler. I didn't
He's
hate
like,
her.
who?
I wasn't repelled by her, but I think that in this movie, she kind of, I don't know why, I just find her a lot more likable than I've ever thought that in anything else that I've seen her. I feel like the role was good for her. The way it was written, the way that she played it, it all kind of worked for some reason.
Well, if you're going to compare her in this to Peggy Carter, like she's got way more personality in this movie than she did in that one as like the love interest. That's just like the side character to Captain America that touches his boob.
Yeah.
Right. She did touch his boob well, though. I mean, at least she was good at that.
I wish a girl would touch my boob like that, man.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. It's really it's a year without a lot of good movies. So for me, this kind of stands out as something. I went to the theater, I enjoyed it, and it was pretty good. Let's move to another one. Wait, actually, Ro, because I'm doing there's no structure really here. Ro, what did you see this year that you liked? If you had to think of a movie that you liked.
So, I've seen a lot of movies and probably not as many in the theater as I would like to have done. I would pick going to a theater over sitting at home, watching them on a streaming service. Something about the theater experience for me is exciting. It's pure, and I hope that never goes away. But I think one movie that I really, really enjoyed for many reasons is Gareth Edwards, the creator. I saw that in IMAX. I really enjoyed it. I loved the fact that that he came back to science fiction after directing Rogue One. He hadn't done anything in a while, and he comes back with The Creator. And I think one of the reasons I really enjoyed this film was it was something kind of fresh and new. But I think because I am a big behind the scenes guy, I was really impressed at the process of this film that only cost what $80 million, and it looks like it cost 3 times as much. And it was just it was wonderful to watch on the big screen, and I really liked it. I bought it on physical media, and it's one of the few movies that I bought on physical media, and this year at least. And yeah, The Creator.
Do you like it all the way through? Because I still want to watch this, but I keep hearing that the third act is where people are like, eh. But up until then,
what? I want to say that I can see the criticism of the third act because, first of all, there's nothing like spectacularly new and fresh story-wise from this movie. I think in the first 10 minutes, if you're paying attention, you pretty much know what the MacGuffin is, what the tail end is going to be. You can kind of guess what's happening. But for me, I think it was just the spectacle, and again, just me just loving all the behind the scenes stuff. I really enjoyed watching the work that was done by ILM, knowing what type of camera that Gareth Edward used. It's the process of him going out on location and shooting versus we have been bombarded by all these Star Wars shows that are basically being shot in a large closet with a technology called the volume, which, in The Mandalorian season 1, it was kind of like a good idea, but now our eyes are getting used to it. And it looks like cheap, cosplay, fan filmmaking. So going to a theater and seeing this on the big screen, it was just refreshing for me. Like I said, there's nothing like majorly, oh my God, you got to see this for the story or whatever. But I think because of all the other stuff that was just kind of like off the shelf, that this really stood out for me, if that makes sense.
Script, did you see The Creator?
Yes. I thought it was derivative and boring for my taste. Listen, Gareth Edwards he tries to be a director and he tries to be a screenwriter, but he's really a better working in special effects. That's where he shines. He knows how to use and spend every dollar to the best and most effective way possible. But when it comes to structuring a narrative, he is falling without a parachute every time. I mean, there's a reason why he had contentions with Lucasfilm over Rogue One. He had no clue what he was getting into with that. And the way he wanted, even with the tug of war back and forth between him and Gilroy, who Gilroy I also felt should not have gotten involved with Rogue One either. Whole lot of stuff. This was him just trying to exercise out those demons, and fair enough for him as well. I thought Washington, who is the lead here, he's got to go back into his supporting roles. He's way better as a character actor than he is as a leading man, in my opinion. And I saw too many derivatives from Terminator, Tron, and Rogue One refeathered through this film to really be able to enjoy it. It just felt a little pretentious and artsy for me, but I can't knock him for integration with special effects. Like, he nailed it. Everything looked like it was in camera, even when it wasn't. He's masterful at that, and that's where I think he should stick to.
That sounds like.
Sorry, go on, Sean.
That just sounds like what I think of Guillermo del Toro. I think he's a brilliant monster designer, but he shouldn't direct movies for the most part. Go ahead.
I'm just somewhere between script and row on this. On one hand, I saw it, and there were a lot of things about this movie when I saw it in the theater that I really appreciated, but I feel like the writing of the screenplay is an issue here, and it's such a missed opportunity because he has a lot of ambitious ideas, and I love the visuals, but I feel like there was a way to present and tie this movie together in a way that there's more of an emotional impact or something, and something about it comes off kind of clinical and I never feel a deep connection with these characters, even though there's some kind of good idea here. It feels like a missed opportunity, the movie.
I can see that. Yeah, for sure. I think, this is one of the stories that probably could have used, I don't know, maybe a couple more drafts or somebody else, really. I mean, it was, who wrote this? It was Gareth Edwards and his writing compadre. What's his name? I forgot his name. But yeah, like I said, there's nothing like super spectacular about the story, and you can guess it if you're paying attention in the first 10 minutes. But nevertheless, I still kind of enjoyed it.
Is there something to be said in defense for my brother always likes movies where I'm like, it was just all special effects and no story. But is there some defense to say this looked amazing and kind of original, and that's why I dug it and
Looks
just
nice.
like it for that.
It
I
does
think
look
we all
nice.
agree.
Yeah.
I think we all.
I
agree that
haven't
looks
seen
nice.
it, but it's on my list.
I mean, I think you would appreciate it for those reasons, Sean, because
Yeah.
you and I have a certain kinship with that sort of thing, the behind the scenes. And I think, if you, again, it's one of those things where I walked away from this movie thinking, wow, ILM did that. They also did, some of the Star Wars shows, ILM didn't do all of the shows. And that's why there's such a weird discrepancy in quality of the television shows when it comes to the Star Wars special effects. But ILM took care of this film, and I'm thinking, wow, I think if anything, they should learn from the creator to maybe go back and say, you know what, let's make Star Wars on the small screen look like Star Wars on the big screen. And I think, Andor does that because they didn't use the volume. They went out and shot traditionally. But I think, obviously, the ability to want to save money on the small screen and still kind of pump out a quality product is should be at the top of Disney's list as far as the Star Wars shows go. But I think the process that Gareth Edwards used in the creator is will go a long way in doing that. But if they have to, I think they have to concentrate on crafting a well-written story with great characters that people connect to. And then
We're back at the origins of storytelling.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely worth a watch, I would say, for that particular reason. But yeah, I mean, just grab your popcorn and your soda and hunker down.
I think that. Sorry, Sean.
No, good. No, I got nothing.
I want to say that it just is to sum it up, and I think we all sort of are in a way we're in agreement on it. It's not the perfect movie screenwriting wise, but if you want a nice popcorn flick with a lot of cool visuals, it does have that. Like I said, it could have been way and should have been way better. And Gareth Edwards, if he wanted to prove that he's a screenwriter and kind of this fancy director, I think that he really proves that he understands the visual side, but he doesn't he's not a great storyteller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sean, go watch this first before you watch Rebel Moon for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gosh.
So after like the last week, I am waiting until the director's cut comes out just to give it a quote unquote fair shake. I have no expectations for that movie.
I think the director's cut comes out in like April.
Yeah, I've heard that, so I'm gonna be waiting a while. Just based on that first trailer for Rebel Moon, I was like, this looks ridiculous. I'm a dude that grew up on Star Wars and like design sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might not have been taught it, but like I grew up with like all your aliens should have a specific look or your universe should have a specific look. I started designing my own to have a specific look. And it's like that trailer was like, this looks like a Roman movie. This looks like a Seven Samurai. This looks like this looks like that. Yeah. And I was like, I'm judging this movie already based on the design sense, and it looks like crap.
And you can't ignore that. Going into that movie, you can't ignore that. It's like, oh wow, space Nazis? Wait, actual space Nazis. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
And they are literally drawn like that. It's like you couldn't like point a hat a little differently. They flat out look like space Nazis.
They're literally just missing that one recognizable symbol to put on their jacket.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the only thing they changed artistically.
So I'm like, what? And then like the rollout of this movie is so incompetent. Like, here's our PG-13 version, so we can sell toys in Target that no one's gonna buy at Christmas. And now we're gonna let Zack Snyder do his R-rated movie. And I'm like, you're just confusing your audience at this point. What are you even doing?
Bad
Well,
decision.
that's not on my list of top movies for 2023.
Oh,
Rebel
really?
We got sidetracked. Sorry, Price.
No.
I'm
It's
just-
perfectly fine. It's okay because the creator, really, this year we only had to look forward to something like the creator and maybe something like Rebel Moon. So it's fair to compare. At least, if nothing else, I think the creator is a better movie than Rebel Moon.
I was
But-
gonna give it a chance, and then like as soon as it dropped, everyone was like, "This is a mess." And I was like, well, I'll just wait till the director's cut. Because like even like Batman v Superman, like the extended one, I was like, all right, I'll watch that. It was a little better, and you know,
Just a little.
it might not
better.
still be a great movie. They still killed Jimmy Olsen, but like at least it was a little better. And then the Snyder cut, in Justice League, I enjoyed, even though it's way too long and I hate the aspect ratio. But it's like, it's fine, whatever.
Did anybody ever explain why he did the aspect ratio the way he did? Because I'm like,
he's just he's annoying. He wants to come off as this fancy auteur, and he's not the fancy auteur that he presents himself as, in my opinion.
I thought it had something to do with IMAX. Like, was he hoping to get on an IMAX screening? I don't know if that's accurate.
He then released one in black and white. Didn't you then release a version in black? Script, you were making fun of that on your channel. That that the black and white, right? You did like a black and white version of your video with him babbling.
Yeah, that's just he likes black and white stuff because he sees everything two-dimensionally. Yeah, I did that as a lark because I knew he was pulling this stuff even before was it officially announced that he was going to be releasing 2 cuts of each part 1 and 2 of his movie. I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait for some of the press junket interviews, and I'm going to mock him relentlessly by basically just releasing 2 versions of the same video. One
that was actually quite clever. I like that you released 2 versions. That in and of itself is a funny joke. I actually found myself laughing that I saw that you had both of them.
Yeah, and they're, you know, considering the fact that my channel has been kind of slow in production and output over the last year, it's moving pretty well, all things considered. But yeah, people got the joke, and I've got more in the future down the line. I'm certain of it when they pop in. But yeah, Zack Snyder, a good director, is very deliberate and articulate, and Zack is neither of those. In fact, even the star of Rebel Moon said in one of the press releases that she was so concerned about her character, but when she looked at Zack, all he was doing was playing basketball off to the side. And I'm like, yeah, that explains a lot when it comes to his directing style. He's just there to have fun. He's not understanding the weight of what is at stake financially and the responsibility of the studio when it comes to telling a story and why you're doing it for the audience. Independent filmmakers make movies for fun, and they suck. And there's a reason for that.
Right, but if he didn't
care more
write
about
it
themselves and what they're trying to do, yeah.
If somebody wrote a screenplay and just kind of was breathing down his neck to just film the movie, maybe he could pull it off. But if him writing the story, him writing the screenplay, that never works out well.
No, it doesn't. And he's worked with people that have won Academy Awards unjustly, I think. I think Chris Terrio, who won one for Argo, owes his Oscar to Ben Affleck, who rewrote the script for him.
Right.
But he's been
Chris
writing.
Terrio is very. It's like he won the lottery. I don't know why that's even a thing. That guy. Obviously, Ben Affleck later when he did Air, I don't see that he did. Ben Affleck ever work with Chris Terrio again?
Not that I can think of offhand, but I mean, you're talking about the guy who not only wrote Batman v Superman, but wrote The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh,
like and yet he's supposed to be listen, there's a lot of it's relationships and currency and things of that nature, but this is the guy that came in to help with Rebel Moon. He doesn't again, you have to work with direct. One thing I'll say with Gareth Edwards, even though I don't like a lot of the stuff, he at least cares about what he's making.
Yes.
Zack Snyder does not. Never has.
Can I tell you, one of the main things I liked about him when he came on to Rogue One was I read something where he's like, I spent the night at Luke Skywalker's home, and I was like, okay, sir, I'm willing to give you a chance in that hotel in Tunisia.
But back to our thing. Let's. Did anybody see Equalizer 3?
No,
I still haven't seen the second one. The first one was great.
I enjoyed the first two, but I didn't get a chance to see the third one.
Aren't these all the same? It's Keanu Reeves and what's his name? Those movies, John Wick. I mean, isn't John Wick 1 the same as John Wick 4? And
John Wick 1's way better than all the other John Wicks.
I agree with
Fast and the Furious 1 is the same as Fast and the Furious.
It also
X,
is the better. I
don't know about that. The stunts keep increasing, but I've only seen the first Fast and the Furious.
I've never seen any.
I think that the first Fast and Furious has an actual screenplay and it tells a story. I'm not saying it's
Break.
The best.
The first Fast and Furious is Point Break.
Yeah,
right. It's Point Break with cars, absolutely. But you know what? It's done okay. It's not a terrible movie for its genre. I think that as you went forward with the installments, the writing didn't improve. It just because of all the stunts and the cars, it became sort of a guilty pleasure. That's how I felt about it. It's not movies that I consider quality, but if there's cool stunts, if there's cool driving, I can get behind it in kind of a guilty pleasure, so bad it's good way. Those movies.
I feel like we're missing that a lot in modern Hollywood.
Are we?
There's a. I feel like I know more than I actually do. I've just watched movies for all my life. I've thought that I knew or understood movies, and then we get on with Script Doctor, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. But
no, you're not. No, one's an idiot.
I just
feel
feel
what you like. It's fine.
I just feel like there was a time where, well, not a time. All of Hollywood, I feel like, has been a contrast between the carnival barker, come see our show, come see the bearded lady or the train rolling into the station, and then there's the artistic aspect, and it's always been a balancing act between the carnival barker and the artist. And so when I think you're spot on. I used to judge movies so harshly, especially in the early 2000s. I refused to see the Charlie's Angels movies because they looked so stupid and they had all the wire work. We watched them 3 years ago, and I was like, these are the greatest things ever.
They were a guilty pleasure. You know what? First of all, those Charlie's Angels movies, those ones that you're talking about, and I'm sorry to say this, they first of all chose actresses which were appealing.
You're sorry to say that?
I mean, it helped that they were three actresses that you kind of enjoy, and the other thing is, the movie had a kind of tongue-in-cheek feeling to it that wasn't over the top. It was nonsense, but there was a way to enjoy it. It was sort of a guilty pleasure. I like that.
We're here to have fun. Have fun with us.
I agree with you. They're not wonderful movies. They're not amazing movies, but they're enjoyable movies in my opinion. Yeah. Script probably is now can't believe I'm saying this.
Oh no, dude, I love this stuff. That's fine.
No, I hated those types of movies so harshly back in the day, and now I'm like, either I'm getting older, these are still entertaining. I don't know.
So just because I'm the only one that saw it, I will say that the Equalizer 3, I felt that it was another missed opportunity, but I will say that they did something different than the first two. I don't think this is a spoiler or this ruins it for anybody, but in this movie, he actually ends up in Italy. In a very kind of local place, and the cinematography, the way they built the story, I actually felt that it had some heart, and Denzel Washington really elevates it with a great performance. The only comment I had is that the third act, in my opinion, was tied up in a way that I feel like it could have been done differently and maybe better, But overall, I actually thought it was a surprisingly good movie. And in a year with so many bad movies, Equalizer 3 was a pleasant surprise for me, personally.
I've heard that. Yeah.
I think that Ro, if I know you care about camera angles and shots and cinematography and things like that, and I think that you'd be able to appreciate the type of atmosphere that they create in the third one. If I had to gamble, I would bet that you may even would like the third one more than the first and second one. Even though for me the first one was the best one because there was just something cool, action. It combined everything that I like. But the third one is better than the second one, and I thought it was interesting. If you guys ever get a chance, I think it's worth watching.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go to the next movie. Hold on.
That's the thing is like I saw people watching the trailers on like Midnight's Edge or as heel versus babyface, and they were like, "Oh my god, he put the gun in the guy's head," and then I never heard about the movie after that.
So this movie for me was a bit of a downer, but I actually saw it and I thought it was a good movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but I thought that considering the subject matter, they handled it rather delicately. And I thought that in spite of all the strange controversy around it, which was unnecessary in my opinion, I thought that the movie, especially considering that it had a $15 million budget, they made it look a lot bigger than what it was. And it was rather competently made, in my opinion. Did anybody see this movie except for me?
Nope.
Sound of Freedom, I saw it. I thought it was a movie. I think. Well, look, I mean, I will put it this way: Jim Caviezel should not have been the lead because he does not. I don't find him to be a good actor, but everyone else around him was phenomenal. The kids were great. The former mob boss criminal,
Yes,
was excellent, peak performance.
agreed.
And I enjoyed this movie. I actually got to read the script before the Disney acquisition because I was a reader at Fox Studios at the time.
Oh.
And what they ended up filming was way different than what I read because there's a lot more of the wife involved. But I gave it a good coverage and kicked it up because I thought it was an interesting story. And when I saw the movie, it was very different, but I still really enjoyed it. And I thought it was
Did the script have more of the wife or less of her?
a lot more of her. There was actually a big conflict with regards to him going off to do this because he was essentially he was going to be compared to a mercenary by the federal government because he was going off the quote unquote going off the reservation of sorts to rescue this.
That's so interesting. If you look, and I swear we've never discussed it, you and I. If you look at my review from back when I did it, I said that I liked seeing Mira Sorvino in this role, but I feel like I wanted to see more of her. And I didn't really know anything about another script or other drafts or anything. I just felt like it was a character that he talks to a few times as he's doing things, and I felt like maybe there was more that she could have done without even knowing that she had a bigger role.
Yeah, I don't think they ever filmed her having a bigger role either.
I think that probably once that draft came, they just removed whatever she had, but it felt natural that you'd see more of this character. And I felt that we didn't see enough of her in the whatever movie that I saw, whatever the final draft is. I feel like she wasn't featured enough. But that was just my instinct.
Just you wait till the 4-hour cut of it.
The Zack Snyder, the Snyder cut of Sound of Freedom. That's the worst combination. Given the subject matter of Sound of Freedom, Zack Snyder doing a cut of this.
Please make me feel more terrible for longer periods of time.
That would be the worst thing. It's such a dumb thought, and it's making me laugh just thinking that Zack Snyder would do a longer. I'm sorry. In any case, I thought that the movie, for whatever it's supposed to be, I thought it was a good movie. It's not a movie that I'll want to revisit many times. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. The subject matter is really, really difficult, and it's a very sad movie for me. I mean, when I look at it, and I don't think I can watch it again, but I do think it's worth watching if nobody's watched it and is taking interest in this subject matter.
Yeah, man. There's so much. You said like best movies of 2023, and I panicked because I was like, have I seen anything? And then I mentioned it earlier. Like I was going through the list of movies on Google when I was like, okay, we got like 17. That's enough to work with.
Well,
17. Jeez.
I basically, not knowing what you guys would do, I just kind of put together some about 7 movies that we could go over and discuss, and we've gone over 5 of them. So
It's all good, man.
I think that the next 2 that I'm going to bring up are probably going to be considered amongst the best. Let's start with.
I'm going to say right now, I probably haven't seen them. I watch all of these streamers and they're like, these movies are terrible. And I'm like, why do you subject yourself to them?
So
What do you got,
let's go with this one.
Oh, well, that's better. I didn't see this one, but I really want to see this one just for the practical effects because Nolan is all about the practical effects.
I had a friend who I explained to him that these effects were practical, and he kept on telling me, but you can't see atoms. I'm like,
Oh.
Did you punch him in the throat for being stupid?
yes. I wanted to so bad.
Bro, did you watch this movie?
Yes, this is one of the 2 physical media movies that I purchased recently.
And what did you think about it?
I loved it. I think obviously the performances, these actors are fantastic. I think it's a very interesting, character study of Oppenheimer, through the, kind of through the eyes of his process, his invention, his thought patterns, before and after he did what he did. No spoilers, but if you're into history, then you already know what's going on here. But
there's not a lot to spoil
not the spoilers. But no, I thought it was great. I think Robert Downey Jr. too did fantastic in the role that he was in. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
I think that Robert Downey Jr. gave one of the best performances of his career in this movie. I'd be surprised if he isn't nominated for an Academy Award. If he ever wins something, I would think that it could be for this movie, but maybe I'm wrong.
He's far too white at this point.
It's possible. Script, what did you think of Oppenheimer?
I thought it was okay. It's based off of a specific book about Oppenheimer that was kind of controversial when it was released, so it wasn't the most broad exploration of the character. This is one of Christopher Nolan's biggest failings as any type of filmmaker. Is his research is the bare bones minimum ever, and then he just makes up and imagines the rest. One of the things you can kind of take away from that is this should have been a movie really about the technical aspects of it, all the gears and workings and discussions and theories, but he circumvents all of that to focus on his association with the Communist Party and the political inquiry and hearings that he underwent as a result of that. It was less about the miracle that he achieved with his team than it was about just the socio-political legacy of that character. And I was I'm like, I learned all this stuff in history class. The advantage of a biopic movie is that you're supposed to see things you don't really know as common knowledge to the character, to the person, the subject at hand. Cillian Murphy was okay. He has one note when he acts like an American. Essentially, same vocal tone, same delivery, all that stuff. There's nothing really different. You could pull lines from this and pull lines from him as Scarecrow in the Batman Dark Knight series, and you would not know which movie came from what, because that's how his performance is. But Robert Downey Jr. was fantastic. Josh Hartnett was unrecognizable. I had to pause for a moment to realize that was him because he actually transformed into a completely different character. Matthew Damon was amazing in it.
I didn't know any of those guys were in this. I
thought that Matt Damon
the name
was
of names, except for like they have Rami Malek in there, and I'm like, he's only in there because Nolan likes Mr. Robot, and that's a terrible show. But
Rami Malek did his job. Whatever that scene is that you need from Rami Malek, I thought that he delivered it fine.
Oh yeah, like the thing is, there's not a bad performance in this film, and I really liked everything that it was trying to do. I just felt it wasn't one of Nolan's better. I think a more competent person who would actually care about this, Ron Howard, would have nailed this way better than Christopher Nolan would have. And the whole the nuclear explosion that he tried to recreate he was. I've heard from the source's mouth. He was very disappointed that it didn't look like how he wanted it to look, and there's no way they could have recreated it the way he wanted it to look without actually detonating a real atom bomb. and no one was going to let him do that. And he refused to do
shucks.
any computer animated effects or any advanced digital compositing beyond what the visions that Oppenheimer was having that was peppered throughout the movie. He didn't want to go more complex than that. And as much as I appreciate that for him, it's like, yeah, maybe you could always get there's no point in actually capturing a real life explosion of that magnitude on film. You might as well just get a really good compositor and spend a couple of months making it look as real as possible, as opposed to detonating a whole bunch of explosions in the middle of New Mexico. It's just my opinion. If you want to do something that's smaller, like set a car on fire or blow up a small building, yeah, that's fine. But to recreate an atomic explosion, like, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, people.
That's a stunt, not art.
At the end, he could claim that he insisted on these things. The movie did well, and he could be happy with the results. So, from his perspective, he probably doesn't care much, even if we think that. If I had to have my comment, what I thought about it was that I thought that it was so many events in this movie that I felt that it needed to be, let's say, a 6-part miniseries. So much information to shove into 3 hours at the pace that he was shoving it. That was maybe my issue with the movie. I still like the movie, and I think it's a good movie. I was impressed with a lot of aspects of it. I like the acting, and I like the subject matter and all that, or I'm interested in the subject matter. But I just feel like if you would have taken the same cast, even with Nolan, and just spread this out over 6 episodes where there's more character development and you kind of connect a little more with the characters, this way things just happen so rapidly in this movie. That was my one comment about it.
Is there a moment where he quotes the Hindu Bible? Do they actually go that far?
Yes.
Yeah.
After he's
that
nailed Florence Pugh.
Yes.
Is that the result of him quoting it? He's just like, he had sex with her, and now he's like quoting the destruction of the world.
Wouldn't you? Come on.
But actually, Florence Pugh annoyed me the least in this movie than anything else I've ever seen her in. I thought that she was actually decent in this, and some other
She's
stuff
a good
like
actress. She just shouldn't be naked in public.
like in Black Widow. I didn't especially like her character. I don't like that whole Yelena thing. I think it's annoying. But in this movie, I thought that she was good.
I honestly can't remember anything I've seen her in.
I wanted to say, I totally understand what Script Doctor was talking about regarding this movie not being, focused or hyper focused on the creation, the gears, the bells and whistles. But I'm going to say, I mean, it's called Oppenheimer, not the H-bomb or the A-bomb. So
Very true,
I found it interesting. Like I said earlier, I found it interesting that it gave us kind of a peek into his mind. And it's almost like the atomic bomb was kind of like periphery. And I think that is definitely one of the aspects of this film that I think is different, or maybe unexpected to people that are going in to seeing a kind of a cut and dry biopic of this man. But I thought the way that they presented his thoughts, his internal visions, his mental machinations was interesting to me. And again, I'm the atomic bomb, and because I live in Chicago and the university, and the connection between the University of Chicago with this whole aspect when Einstein came over and all that stuff, and it's stuff that for me is a little familiar. So I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, that they didn't spend too much time on the mechanics of the bomb and the process and the science, and more into his mind and what he was thinking, or how he was relating to, I guess, the grander scheme of the universe and this weapon that he was working on.
Well, it's like it's a weapon he didn't really want to make. Like, that's the other part, which I appreciated in the film. I wasn't looking mostly like the technical aspects of it in regards to like it being an instruction manual, but more let's get in on the room of them actually brainstorming to solve the problem, because there was more than just him in there. And even though it is Oppenheimer, it's his team that he brought together. Some of the stuff at the start where he's in New Mexico and he's saying like, this is what we're going to do, set up the town and everything. I'm like, this movie should be more of that, because you're actually getting way more into his head with those choices than you are of him just having various dreams and then, fantasies about nailing Florence Pugh, and then the weird narrative structure of jumping through various points of time around 2 different hearings and then one private arraignment, so to speak. And I'm like, yeah, this stuff here, while interesting on the surface level, isn't really feathered in properly to how they actually got here. He's trying to frame it into a very peculiar device. And I look at that type of framing of narrative as Christopher Nolan was not as confident in what he was trying to do as you'd expect him to be, but he's confident in all the other stuff around that. He was trying to convey a specific message that Oppenheimer may have entertained some ideas that were favorable to the communists, but he was unjustly persecuted by these people. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the people that were persecuting him were incredibly unjust, and kind of playing into the whole House of Un-American Activities stuff and all that type of thing there, and creating a rivalry, which could have been great, but it just didn't. It felt very strange the way that they introduced Robert Downey Jr.'s character and how much he revered Oppenheimer, and then the about face that happens in the middle of the movie. And you're like, well, why does that happen? You've skipped over the reason why these two are at odds, and you never tell us ever. So we'd have to go, unless you know your history on these two characters and their relationship and what one was trying to do over the other, you are not filled in on that in the movie. And I think that's why it kind of fell apart a little bit for me, even though I loved a lot of the performances.
Actually, a family member of mine told me that. I think I'm trying to think if maybe they saw the movie even before me by one day, and they told me you should really research the whole story of Oppenheimer prior to seeing this movie. The more you know about him and about his life and everything, it'll probably be an easier way to watch this movie. And I actually agree with that. And it's exactly for the reason that you said, Script, that if you don't know a lot of this backstory or these different elements in his biography and different things that happened to him, and that goes back to what I was saying before. Everything happens so quickly in this movie, trying to shove so many events into 3 hours, even though 3 hours is a long time. So many events are being shoved into it that if you really don't do that kind of research, you may not be able to really appreciate everything that's going on.
Can I ask?
The script is definitely super dense. I mean, it is like wall to wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it, my first viewing, I was like a little like, because it is so, dense. You really have to kind of, I mean, it's not a movie that you can go to the kitchen, grab a drink, and then come back and then pick up.
No,
which is something I appreciate. It's a very engaging film. Like that's the one thing, like you're when you're watching it, you're kind of hooked. It does throw you for a loop a couple of times. Not to get any further into that. Sorry, Ro, go ahead.
No, that was just my take on it. But yeah.
So just to sum it up, I think it's a good movie. I've always said that I think it has flaws. I think that in a way, we all understand that it's not maybe the perfect movie, but it is a very good movie.
But isn't that true of like every biopic? Like,
I guess
you're not gonna perfectly contain all of the information of someone's life,
especially one like this one. You're right, though. Biopics are always tricky.
They focus on too much. That's the biggest problem. Like one of the better biopics is probably Schindler's List. And that because that focuses on the key point of what he did that made him relevant.
So that leads me into the thought of my favorite of his Nolan Batman movies is Batman Begins, because the whole thing from soundtrack to story feels like it's building towards something. And just listening to you guys, because I still haven't, I do want to see this, but I don't want to see it. I feel like there's a lot of movies like that. If I was going to do a movie based on Oppenheimer and my name is Chris Nolan, I feel like I would treat it like that. From the soundtrack to frame one, I would be building towards this key event. The whole movie would be pushing to that. And then maybe like a wrap up of the aftermath. And I don't know if it gets bogged down because it's like, biopics, you're like, oh, he was flawed here, he was flawed here. And it's like, you know what? Focus on one event, tell me what led up to it, what it was like, and then give me something about his character. I don't know if that makes sense, but like
It kind
Christopher
of does that.
Nolan.
It just does it in a very peculiar order narratively.
He loves
Okay.
this out of the not chronological order, back and forth, black
Well,
and
that
white,
sounds
future,
like
past.
what's that movie? Ugh. Memento. If that you saying that sounds like Memento.
It kind
And
of
it's
had a Memento.
Yeah.
It kind of had a Memento feel to it. I understand why you would say that. Yes.
yeah. Anyway, that's just my own personal thing. It's like you name something Oppenheimer, and he's quoting the Hindu Bible after he made the atomic bomb. Give me a movie that is building from frame one to the detonation. Like, don't even necessarily focus on the superfluous stuff. It's just like, what are the choices that got us here?
Well,
And then I don't know if that works. I'm just kind
it's
of
fine. It's
rambling.
fine.
I still
It's
need to
okay.
watch it.
You like it more just traditional and not this kind of back and forth storytelling, and that's fine.
Well, I didn't see it, so I'm just. You tell me Oppenheimer, and I'm like, I have an expectation. So
Anyhow, this is the final movie now we're going to go over, which is hopefully somebody saw here.
what the hell is that?
Godzilla -1.
I did not see
Did
it.
anybody see it here?
I so want to see this, but I haven't been able to get tickets in my area.
Same.
Sean?
Sold out.
I'm in North Carolina. I'm still looking for a job. Godzilla is on my list, but but not a priority.
All right, fair enough. I'll just say that I thought that this was a very good movie. It probably got one of the best reviews that I gave this year was for this movie. It gets a lot of things right. It tells a good story. You even care about the characters. Surprisingly, it's also a Godzilla movie. But even if it wasn't, I feel like they really did a lot of great work here with the characters and just the sets, the actors, everything about it I really enjoyed. And it's something we were talking about the creator before and how Lucasfilm could learn from Gareth Edwards how to not make things look stinky. Then I think that Hollywood could learn from this movie how a guy took about $15 million or something like that and made this movie, maybe less. And if that Japanese director took $15 million and made this movie, they need to really do some thinking over at some of these studios that they spend $300 million on a movie. And
Well, that's the charm of making movies back in the day. Like the whole reason I love movies is like they took
the
nothing.
ingenuity,
They took
the ingenuity.
popsicle sticks and they turned it into a monster. Like
Yeah.
I get so mad about movies current day because they're just like, we did it on our computer, and I'm like, that's nothing. What the
Well,
frick, man?
it's not even just that. It's also the quotes for a lot of the people in the West. They have very high price tags when it comes to working on films. It is a competitive market. They negotiate a lot. In Japan, where this man made this film, the competition is there, but the other part is that the spending, there's not enough money for you to really be able to argue, well, I need this much minimum in order to work, because the industry there is very small. And the United States and even in the UK, you're talking billions of dollars spent a year.
It gets very hard for the commoner to hear you need these exorbitant prices and not think that this is extortion or money laundering.
Dude, it really is, because even I look at it like I have this very basic thing. If you're spending more than $30 million on a movie, it needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like there's no excuse because it's $30 million. Like it's just simple. But Hollywood doesn't function that way, because sometimes producers are like, well, if you want me to produce this movie, I need a minimum of $15 million just for myself, in addition to what's going on. And then there's percentage of budgets that go back and forth. Like if you write a script that took you 6 weeks, but you sold it for $1 million, guess what? If the budget's going to be $100 or $200 million, you get a percentage on top of that initial sale as well. So that means that money is not going into the actual production. It's going to the screenwriter. Same thing with the director, and I have a pay or play. Like it's just all these types of things that the director of Godzilla -1 probably didn't have as an option. Like he probably has a basic, gross point on the film, but nothing really huge or exorbitant. And every dollar that this movie makes, he's probably getting a fraction of a cent, and he's grateful for that.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's blowing up and the fact that it's already in the severe net profitability range is good for everybody that's worked involved. But it's going to come with one caveat, and that is the studio that financed this film is going to be able to justify spending a little bit more money and probably not bringing back some of the same people if they demand too high of a bump in their pay because of the success of the first one. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as a result of this.
There's like a I said before, what was it? It was like it's the Carnival Barker versus the artist. And it's just like, how much is your soul worth versus immortality to make something so good? And it's just like played up to the extremes. Carnival Barker to artist. So you're just at these top levels where it's like, I can't understand these budgets and people's demands. It's like, at what point is the artist in me ready to sell out for just a crazy amount?
Well, the thing is, it's only selling out if you're compromising your own values. There's some people that they create an art and they get a huge offer for it, and they're like, well, this is a win. And then they're told they're sold out. It's like, I'm not selling out. This is something I actually liked.
This is like I built my whole life towards.
Yeah.
I get that. I have a wall of stupid doodles from a sci-fi universe that may never see the light of day. I get it. But like, geez.
And you might find that one person that's like, I like this. I want to invest in it. Let's go and let's do something. It comes with grind and luck. That's the thing.
Keep on knocking. Keep on knocking, Sean.
I'll be dead and I'll still be knocking.
And then you have to remember too, these Hollywood movies, their advertising, their marketing budgets are probably more than some of these movies that we've been talking about.
They're like at least half, right?
No, it's actually it's more expensive to market a movie than make a movie now, because the way new marketing firms, at least the ones that I've dealt with in Hollywood, have operated on is that they have a global exposure now that they didn't have 25 years ago. The internet has changed it to the point where it's now more expensive to sell internationally because you've got a global competition, as opposed to, we're just selling this domestically. We'll have a minor, international campaign to push this film because all those other countries, they have their domestic stuff that they do, and people are going to watch that anyways. We don't really want to compete with them, but we want to be available to them. Now it's like, well, since everybody's technically on the internet, not really, but from their perspective, it is. You're competing with 8 billion other eyes outside of your core market, and they charge accordingly to that. So when you see a movie that's $100 million, they're spending at minimum $150 to $200 million advertising it. And basically it's extortion, because I know for a fact that it doesn't really cost them that much money to get the word out internationally for a tentpole film.
But you can convince them of that, because even as a nobody, I'm ready to put out at least 5 issues of a comic book. And I'm like, I have no audience and no money to really spend on advertising. So I get when movies are spending so much on advertising to get word out.
It's really just to shout louder than everybody else so that they come to your stuff.
Yes.
Well, in any case, I think that this is a good movie, and I think that if somebody hasn't seen this movie, whether on this panel or the people watching us right now on YouTube and Rumble, I think Godzilla -1 is definitely worth a trip to the theater. If it's still playing next to where you're at, I recommend the movie. I had a really good experience. There's a certain feeling, I don't know if to say movie magic, or I don't know what word I'm looking for, that I used to get when I watched a movie, where beyond all the money and all the different bureaucracy, you could feel that there's a team of people that are excited and taking seriously what they do, and they're creating some kind of movie magic for you. And I really felt that watching this movie.
I was just listening to someone on a live stream today talking about that. They were like, now everything is owned by corporations, but back in the day, it was like people that actually liked movies and knew what it took, and like movie moguls, but all the movie moguls retired. And I was like, oh, it's very interesting that I believe in that, actually.
And the good thing is that I feel like the people making this movie, because they're not really part of the Hollywood system, it's almost like they don't know any better. They have They do diversity just by having having an Asian cast, so that's diverse. They don't do anything that would be considered, peddling different agendas and different things. Maybe you could say that it has some internal stuff to do with being a Japanese patriot or whatever it is. Maybe you could say that theme interests them. But I never watched this movie and felt that somebody was trying to shove any kind of agenda down my throat. Like, I thought that it was just a good story, very, very well told. I liked.
So Godzilla's not woke?
No, it's not.
Well, he is a lesbian in a wheelchair, but you'll get over that.
He's not. They don't even know any better. I don't even think that they're thinking of woke. I think that they're just this Japanese director who also is in charge of the visual effects and also I think wrote the movie. He had his vision. He came and he did this movie for less than $15 million. And if I'm Hollywood and I see this movie, I feel really, really embarrassed, as Adam Gray wrote in the comments. And yes, I would be very embarrassed if I was Hollywood. And that's the feeling that I got watching this movie. And it also kind of opens the door. And the question is, if similar to what happened with manga and comic books in the US, if this movie isn't going to sort of open the door to that, where maybe we see more Japanese movies. I recently also saw the Boy and the Heron. Did anybody see that?
No.
I have not even seen an advertisement.
Yeah, I saw that one, but I won't start getting into it. That one was an interesting movie, but I don't think I'd rank it amongst the best I've seen this year. It was a good movie. Maybe one of the better movies I've seen this year, but it was complicated. I have mixed feelings about it.
Which one?
But The Boy and the Heron. It's an animated movie by the Studio Ghibli, the guy who's like king of animation.
I love that guy.
Visually, I think that what he did is stunning, but I think that if Script sat there and watched this movie, he'd have questions about the screenplay, because the narrative there is very kind of loose. Things just happen that don't 100% to me make sense. If I had to tell you what happens in different acts of the movie, I don't know where one act would start and one would end. I feel like
that's common among a lot of Pacific Rim productions, though.
I feel like this movie is just happening. You can either be along for the ride or not. And I feel like the director, he made it and he doesn't even really care if you understand it. He understands what he wanted to do. And if you don't understand, he doesn't really care about that.
I have a number of those movies. I feel like it is a question of the region of the world that it's coming from and how they narratively tell stories.
Yeah, they're far more passive. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the nature, and it works for them. I enjoy a lot of their stuff.
I don't necessarily love manga or anime, but I am very picky about the ones that I have. I do have movies from Japan that I'm like, these just look amazing. And the story almost inevitably has questionable moments where I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. I assume something's getting lost in translation, but that's fine.
Which is another thing. I saw the movie and it had Western actors. So you had Christian Bale doing a voice, Willem Dafoe. It just, and they all look
They
Japanese.
usually dub them.
You see these Japanese characters. Somehow those voices don't 100% work for me. But with all of that being said, I thought it was an interesting movie. I wouldn't consider it a bad movie. It's just you have to know what you're signing up for when you see it. But if you like that type of style of that kind of Studio Ghibli, I think that you could enjoy this movie.
My biggest problem with Japanese animation is that so many studios just copy the character designs of each other, and I cannot stand that. Whereas if you get something like Lupin the Third, the television show, they do something different in the character design, and I'm like, I love this and I respect it because you did something different. Studio Ghibli, oh my god, their backgrounds are like peak, whatever you want to call it. Supposedly their animators sleep under the desks, and they're just
stunning.
happy.
Visually, I thought the movie was stunning. As an artist, Sean, I think that you'd watch this movie and you'd be very impressed with what you've seen. But
Yes,
like I said, you have to know you're signing up for some kind of surreal adventure. that
I always take everything from them with a grain of salt because I know that they're so different.
but
Sorry,
but
didn't mean to interrupt you.
I did not like it, but I guess it just I probably need to see it again to even appreciate it further. But I don't not recommend the movie. I think actually this year this is a good movie, and it's a good movie for us to sort of tie up this impromptu discussion. We've actually it's nice over our broadcast. Actually, more and more people noticed that we were doing it, and more on Rumble, I see that more people started watching it, which is cool. Some people may go back and watch it. I know that our videos, our streams, people watch them after the fact too. I want to thank everybody that did tune in and anybody that's tuning in afterwards. I hope everybody's having a great holiday season, and I hope everybody has a great year. We're going to continue our Quantum Leap stuff right after the new year, and hopefully
Heck yeah.
also Nick will be able to join us for that. So that'll be next Thursday. We're going to do another Quantum Leap. Now I'll just go one by one script. Is there anything you want to plug or talk about before we finish?
Not other than the fact that in, a little over a week from now, I've got my scripts on Saturdays coming up. So
Cool.
you'll be able to catch that. We'll be reviewing some screenplays. I've been working on organizing the next 52 weeks of shows for that because I've got several scripts done, so I've got to sort those out for everyone. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great start to the new year.
I'm looking forward to that. It sounds like you're doing something very interesting there, and I have a feeling that it's going to be unique and different, and not something that a lot of other people do. So I'm looking forward to that. Script on Saturdays. That's Script Doctor on YouTube. Highly recommend the channel, just even regardless. But that's also going to be very interesting. Sean, anything you want to plug?
Just doing YouTube videos, mostly art drawings now. They're doing better than the comic reviews. And then
I like your art drawings. They're good.
I appreciate that. I need to find a new angle to them. But I have that.
Draw without a shirt on. See if that'll generate any clips.
I need to like rub a nipple as I'm.
Hey, whatever works, man.
Hey, man. Yeah, no, just the YouTube channel. I have stickers for sale, probably art prints in the near future on
That would be cool.
Real Sean Krummel Art.etsy.com. And that's it. Just follow me and hang out and comment, especially comment. All the comments help the channel.
Ro, what's up with you? What's going on?
Well, we have our podcast we drop episodes every Thursday mornings, and we go live not consistently on Saturdays at 7:00, but whenever I got something to say or I have a cool guest. But I really would love to have everyone check out the rest of the Red 5 Network. We are a bunch of content creators that talk about everything under the sun in the geeky stratosphere here. So visit thered5network.com and check out the rest of the gang over there and explore the offerings of what my nerd compadres are doing over there. So thank you, everybody.
Before we go, just a few, Tex was here earlier. You have Gregory Mize, Michael Quaid, and Adam Gray, and Super Mario Brothers. And yes, some people asked, next week there will be Quantum Leap. This was just sort of we kind of did this. It was an impromptu, us talking about some good movies or potentially good movies this year. On Rumble, there was also Iron NG Asawako that said that this is an awesome stream, and we really appreciate that. I sometimes have trouble pulling up the comments from Rumble, but I did happen to see this one. Thank you, everybody, for watching here, and also for the group of people watching on Rumble now. We appreciate that. We wish everybody
25 people watching over there.
Yeah. It seems to be growing. They saw we were leaving, so they all came.
Yeah, right.
But thanks to everybody that tuned in. Happy holiday. Have a great new year. I don't have a specific outro this time. We're just gonna depart.
Sean is gonna sing.
Sean is gonna sing.
I can't sing too loud. My wife went to sleep.
All right. Well, see everybody later.
I am such an awesome
He just
guy.
left.
And he left.
He
Stream's
didn't
not
even
over
end the
yet.
stream.
Oh,
Oh, someone message him.
it's our place now. Yeah.
I'm the
Oh,
new
dude.
price now, mofos.